Lisa MacLeod. I'm the MPP for Nepean. I'm joined today by...
Stéphane Sarrazin from the riding of Glengarry, Prescott, Russell.
And?
Nolan Quinn from Stormont, Dundas, South Glengarry.
And together we host Sunrise Eastern Ontario as members of the Ontario Progressive Conservative Caucus at Queen's Park and as colleagues in the region that we love to call home, Eastern Ontario. And of course, it's been busy at Queen's Park the last little while. We talked a little bit about this last week, but there was a parliamentary assistant shuffle, and Nolan goes all the way to health. And of course, Stéphane, you are Francophone Affairs, which is such a natural for you given your leadership internationally, and of course, small business, which is something that you're excited about bringing to the area. So I guess maybe because you weren't on last week, can we talk a little bit about how your new portfolios are driving some of the work that you're doing?
Really excited, to be, the voice of the Francophone of Ontario, and I have to say, I've been like a lot of organizations reach out to me, and congratulating me on this. So no, it's and especially the business. If we can work for Francophone entrepreneurs, that's a plus. So no, it's really looking forward to it. I know it's going to be a busy year or a busy 2 years, whatever, but it's all going to be fun.
Well, you had a small business as well.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
You're a good voice.
Yeah, well, you're both business leaders, which is really great for our caucus. I'm just thinking perhaps we should do a small business roundtable for Francophones in the city of Ottawa with some of the organizations. Might be a good thing to do.
Absolutely.
And because I'm noticing too, as we see more newcomers coming to the city of Ottawa and Eastern Ontario, we're seeing a lot of people, Francophones from Africa and other parts of the world coming to settle into our community. Are you noticing that in either of your ridings?
Yeah, we got the city of Rockland, who's just looking at becoming a Francophone immigration welcoming community, and we already had the town of the city of Hawkesbury. So yeah, a lot of things happening, and I mean, it's fun because I always was involved with the Francophone organization as the APF, the Assemblée parlementaire de la francophonie. So I have like a busy summer. I'm going to go to Nova Scotia, to New Brunswick. They have some big celebration.
Well, when you come to Nova Scotia, and maybe I'll try and go visit my mom at the same time, and I'll take you for a tour of the Scottish part.
There you go.
Okay. And now what about you? I mean, you have jumped in with both feet. Like within minutes almost of being announced, you're leading off question period, responding for the Ministry of Health. So how are you finding it?
It's great. It's a big file though. It's the largest ministry by dollars, $85 billion. MCCSS was the third largest, but it was an interesting time to jump in because we had our budget. So the House book and all the House notes changed. So I received the old notes, and then I had to kind of filter through them and understand that the numbers were going to change. But there's a lot of terminology when it comes to healthcare and a lot of abbreviations and stuff like that. But I've enjoyed it. It's really good. A great team at the Ministry of Health. But
first day back, first question.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
It
was. We were very proud of you.
Well, it's a great way to not have to overthink it. You just jump right in with 2 feet, as long as it's the deep end of the pool and not the shallow end of the pool.
Well, look, we're going to have to get you to come up to Ottawa as well, because I've had you at Robert Smart Centre. I would like to take you to the Queens by Carleton, and then there's some mental health work that I'm doing up in the capital that I'd love for you to see. But in terms of your own constituency, how are you going to use your parliamentary assistant work into Cornwall and SDNSG?
Well, I think we're all aware we do have a shortage of skilled labor when it comes to healthcare in Eastern Ontario, especially in the rural areas. So, ultimately, it's just to understand the file a little bit more. I think will help the riding and the constituents of Cornwall and area. Unfortunately, we've had a few doctors retire in the last couple of months, so it's put a little bit more pressure on me as the PA. The timing of that was quite interesting. In the last few months, we've lost a few. So the more I understand the file, the more I can speak confidently in my community.
Now, we recently had a budget. We did talk a little bit about it. Stéphane and I were able to be with the Premier when he came to Eastern Ontario to talk about the big deal for the City of Ottawa, which helps a bit of your riding. Doesn't really help yours, except for the workers that would come into the city from your area, either with the 416 or the 417, 174. But for me, I was really excited because we were able to see greater investment into policing and safety and security. We saw massive investments into healthcare, a lot of investments into our local community colleges and universities. And for me in particular, I was excited about getting the Barnsdale interchange on 416. So the deal that was made with the City of Ottawa, I felt really reflected the fact that we are the second largest city in the province, more than just the seat of Parliament. And it took into consideration that we're a large rural community as well, because some of the rural roads that would interchange with both of your constituencies will be upgraded. In terms of the budget for both of your constituencies, are there anything that you'd like to trumpet right now to talk about? I know we were talking about a new school for you. The Highway 174 part of your constituency is big. And anything else? Maybe I'll start with you, and then we'll go to
Well,
you.
I think the biggest thing is the expansion of primary health care. You know, as I mentioned earlier, we do have a shortage of physicians, so to have the nurse practitioner-led clinic or the Seaway Valley Health Center, we just expended another $4 million there. That's estimated to be about 19,000 patients that are going to be rostered. That's the thing I hear the most is, you know, I don't necessarily have a family doctor or a family health team. So I think that investment is going to pay dividends for years to come, not just in the short term.
Good.
And I think in a couple of weeks we'll hear about, you know, new schools, expansion projects for
See a
schools.
little twinkle in
So
your eye.
I got a feeling
so
that it's going to be
tuned,
it's going to be a good year
GPR.
for us. And I think, you know, that what they did, like double the budget and building schools, and I think that's great. You know,
Well,
we
I
need
mean,
that, like.
you can't accept so many new people into the province and not come with the infrastructure that's required to support them. And so in high growth areas, it really does require investments into schools and transportation and to healthcare.
I'm glad you brought up infrastructure. You know, water, wastewater is a big significant issue in my area, or there's a shortage. So, you know, that new fund is going to pay. It's going to go a long way in the rural area. Am I right?
Good.
For sure.
What about you?
No, it's the same thing. Like, it's pretty much the same reality, and I mean, we got a lot of municipalities. Well, growth is nice, but it becomes a problem at times. You know, like all
it's
the
not supportive.
smaller communities, smaller municipalities, they have to deal with it. I know
Yeah.
some of my villages couldn't build any more houses because of, you know, their
Infrastructure.
Yeah, infrastructure.
Or water.
So hopefully, small. Yeah. So,
Well, listen, I know that we've got to go because you're busy. Everyone's doing different things today. One final question for each of you, and then I'll wrap her up. What was one fun thing in the last couple of weeks you've done in the constituency that just made you smile and think about it for a couple of days afterward?
So there's two. One would be the Raisin River canoe race. So it's a 35-kilometer canoe race from St. Andrews West all the way to Williamstown, historic Williamstown. But the secondary one, my friend lost his child a couple of years ago. So he has a tournament in honor, in memory of his child.
Okay.
So I played in a hockey tournament this weekend. Still feeling the pain in my legs. I haven't played hockey in a year. Playing 4 40-minute games really it put me not feeling the best in the last couple of days. I feel like somebody's kicked my legs a few times, but it was great to connect with my friends and people that I don't get to see with this job
And for
too much.
a good cause.
For a great cause, yes. It's for the Sea Ice program at St. Lawrence College, the community integration through cooperative education. They're going to do a scholarship every year in memory of their son. So great cause. And again, we didn't win it this year. We got the B finals. We won that, but it was more about the camaraderie and, you know, the social aspect of it all, because with this role, as I'm sure you're both aware, we don't necessarily see our friends and family as much. So they also had the families come out for skating hour, which was new this year. So my kids got out on the ice with all kinds of other children also. So I like the fact that they included the family a bit more this year, because it's all about the children. So.
Wow, that's great. And you, buddy, what did you do?
I did participate to a lot of volunteer events, like when they, you know, municipalities or organization, they do like they recognize the volunteers, and it was really fun to sit with these people and learn what they do, you know, and some of these people, they think like we're, you know, MPP. We're going to be going there, and, you know, they want to unroll the red carpet and say, you know, we got to watch how we speak, you know, to the MPP. But at the end of the day, we had so much fun, you know. We exchanged all kinds of, you know, funny stories, and no, it's nice.
Well, listen, he's one of the funnest guys I know, so that would have been great.
So what have you done lately that's fun as well?
Oh, well, yeah, I'm not used to you guys asking me questions. So 2 events. They were sort of back to back. The first one, I was speaking, not really quite a lecture, but definitely a presentation to a number of bipolar specialists at the Ottawa Hospital, the general campus, and some of those with lived experience. And so I'm working on a project, on 2 projects actually. And so I gave an explanation of, and maybe more of a presentation on what my experience has been like with a new bipolar diagnosis. It's about a year now, and how I've lived through that and how I've been coping with it, and things that I haven't been able to cope with. So I always get nervous when I talk about it, but I find when I do talk about it, it is always very helpful. So that was exciting because I got to meet a number of people, and I got to see my psychiatrist who had retired. He came to listen to the talk, which was really, really nice. And I'm working with one of the psychiatrists there on a book, and he'll give sort of like the psychiatric view of what my diagnosis is and how things I've done in my life were either impacted by mania or depression or in a mixed state. And so I've been doing that. The next day, I celebrated my 18th anniversary as the member of provincial parliament for Nepean. So thank you. I'm now the oldest, sorry, not the oldest, the longest serving woman at Queen's Park, and I am the longest serving MPP in Ottawa. And so I'm very excited about that. And the Premier came, so did Prabmeet Zakari, our Transportation Minister, and the Finance Minister, Peter Bethlen-Falvey, and about 500 of my closest friends.
Wow.
And I have to say, I've had many tough days over the past number of years, maybe 5. And that was just a night that went way too fast because it was just filled with smiles and good people.
Yeah, good stories.
Yeah, and people who supported me. Pictures. Oh my goodness, the pictures from my first election, my first swearing in, to, last week or the week before, seeing people that I hadn't seen in a long time because COVID obviously interrupted a lot of that too. And now that our elections are in June, some people are away. And so it was just, to have them sort of back to back is confronting a major challenge that I've had healthcare-wise for mental health that's really changed my outlook on public life in terms of my mental health and bipolar, and then the next night celebrating 18 years,
Everything
6
you've
elections.
accomplished.
And it was just like looking at the things that I had done and going, holy smokes, I can't drive through Barrhaven or Bell's Corners without looking at something that I had a hand in, and as part of what I would consider my legacy.
Sure.
And you know what? I almost think, and sort of talking out loud here, outside of my head, but I almost wonder if some of those really tough times had to hit me in order for me to really truly appreciate the gift that I was given of public service. And anyway, thank you for asking the question. If I had known it was coming, like I knew yours was coming, but it would have been great. No, and I have to say the one final thing I'll say is yesterday I just sat there and I thought, I'm going to look around. I often do, and I always do in the legislature, if I'm having a bad or a good day. I try to look at every single person that's sitting in there, especially when we're not in question period, because question period's everybody. When you're just sitting in the legislature during normal debate, and there's only about 20 people in the House, I always look at whoever's in that chamber, and I think of one good thing of every person in that chamber. Doesn't matter what party, doesn't matter where they're from, doesn't matter if they told me off the day before. I find it. And all of a sudden I sort of looked to my left and I saw Brian Riddell, Brian Saunderson, and Rick Breezy. And I looked and I go, you know what I love is if I hadn't run again or I had been defeated, I never would have met these 3 remarkable individuals. And it could have been, I could have looked to the right, and I could have seen Graham McGregor or Ernie Hardeman or whatever, but it was just at that moment, I thought, wow, what a gift. Why in life would we ever not accept a gift like that?
It's amazing where life brings us. I've thought the same since we got elected 2 years ago, how many relationships and friendships have been developed. And, we wouldn't necessarily, seem strange, but me coming from outside of politics, seeing them on the TV over the years, especially during the pandemic, and now being close friends and confidants with them is something that it's not lost on me as well.
Yeah.
I have to say I'm amazed by, when I go to Ottawa with Lisa, everybody knows Lisa,
All-star.
So she gets to introduce me to everybody because, in Ottawa, I represent the rural part of Ottawa. I know that, the people from Navan and Vars, but when we go to Ottawa, really, she knows.
She works through them pretty well.
Yeah, I know for sure. So that's 18 years of being, giving them good
Great
service.
accomplishment.
Yeah. But you know what? Lucky me. I've got the two of you. We're always together. The three of us are always together. We've been best friends for life. It's really kind of great. And we've got a great group from our region. And like I said, everyone's always wondering where my two guys are if they're not with me. It used to be everyone would be like Lisa, Steve, and Yak. But no, it's now Lisa, Stefan, and
We're a little
Nolan.
closer to Ottawa than Steve.
It's funny because me and Nolan didn't know each other at all prior
not
to
at
being
all,
elected.
yeah.
So it's
Met each other on the train, right?
Yeah,
From
yeah,
Ottawa
exactly.
Or Toronto.
But I think it speaks well to our region and how we like to represent people here in the government. So it's good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have just concluded with us another episode of Sunrise Eastern Ontario, where the sun rises first in this entire province. And of course, joining us from Stormont, Dundas, South Glengarry is Nolan Quinn. Come see him in the summer when it gets hot at the Dairy Queen. And of course, from Glengarry, Prescott, and Russell, our dear friend Stéphane Cérezin, who always has a good joke in English and French for you. And I'm Lisa MacLeod from Nepean. Great place to be in. See you next week.